You want to fight us?
Yeah.
Yes.
What, so do you guys want a TDM or what?
No, you should cannon our boat.
Why?
Just try to sink us, and we're gonna try to
two-man
keep it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Boards and whatever, curse, we don't care.
Dude, this guy's a bilge god, bro. That's one guy down there. Oh! It's a two-man galleon. And I don't know if they're NAL or what they're doing, but they're trying to practice their bilge.
Out of cannonball.
And with a two-man, like, they're doing a fucking amazing job. Like, I would hate to run into this crew if there was a four-man.
What the fuck is this sloop made out of?
This swell is killing me. What the fuck are they still up? One blending me?
Oh, they got me too.
Damn, bro. I don't really understand what's going on here. We have never ever had this much trouble.
500 cannonballs later.
He dunked! Finally fucking dunked! Holy fuck, bro. Jesus Christ, dude.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we have never put that many cannonballs into a ship without them sinking.
Any ship. Ever. Like, that's some of the wildest fucking shit I've ever seen.
Alright, let's get the Reapers and sell, because they're coming back.
Do
100%.
they have anything?
I don't actually care. We should just go.
Are you guys from that sloop? Dude, it must have been like 500 cannons. How the hell were you guys staying up? Yeah, it was impressive tanking. Like, bucketing out of the top grate was clever.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, bro, because I was getting X's like every single time.
Same.
2 pockets in a row, just everyone was an X a couple times, and like I just didn't having trouble figuring out what the fuck.
Ahoy sailors, welcome to Bilge for Swabbies. A lot of information covered in this video will be specific to bilging, but will be broad enough to apply to most situations you might find yourself in. I want to give you the tools you need to keep your ship afloat for Season 8, and because every fight is different, you should form your own strategies that you think will work better for you. This information is primarily going to be directed towards galleon bilge, however many of these tips can be used universally throughout each ship type. If you learned anything new from this video, leave a comment, tell me what you learned. Also, consider subscribing for future PvP tutorials. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So besides a bucket and the planks of wood, a bilge's best friend will always be their cutlass. That's because of the added movement speed you're able to get with the sword hops, even when the water levels on your bottom deck are high. This added speed allows you to patch holes quicker and get to where you need to safely bucket. So if you're the designated bilge, it might be a good idea to go ahead and equip your favorite cutlass. One thing Sea of Thieves does really well is its sound design. There's so many sound cues to listen out for that will give you a ton of information. The first is the difference between the sound of upper and lower holes. This can be very valuable information to let you know when to go down and patch if you're taking on water, or to let you know you don't have to go to patch because your boat is dry. The first is the upper. And then the lower is slightly more muffled. This one's a little tricky to get down, but now you know what to listen for. If you didn't hear yourself get it lower, anytime you go to the second deck to resupply, you can generally hear anytime you're taking on water. There are also 3 different tiers of holes, and here's what they sound like. And the bilge is normally downstairs anyways, so the great thing to listen for is the ladder splash of a boarder. Bailing water is the bread and butter of a Bilge's job. You want to practice grate bucketing on a galleon so that it looks similar to this example. In general, you just want to hop downstairs, grab a bucket, then bail the water through the grate. A good goal is to get good enough at this where your bucket is constantly moving with no pauses. A tip to do this a little bit faster is when you're going downstairs, jump to hit your head off the ceiling, and this will force your character down a little bit quicker. A good rule of thumb when practicing this is you want your character model right in the center of the map table. This does work on either side, so here are the two spots you want to aim for. And right here is just a closer look. Grate bucketing also works on the sloop too. And you guessed it, it works on the brigantine as well. Now on the brig and the sloop, I wouldn't recommend grate bucketing while you're moving, only while you're stationary. It can be really nice having 2 bucket points on the brig, especially if you're hurting really bad. Another tip to help make your buckets a little more efficient is you don't have to go all the way into the water to get a bucket. Just as soon as the water hits your toes, you're able to get that bucket. This can keep you from going all the way down and bucketing like that, and it may not seem like it, but this little bit of time might actually save you from sinking. So kind of an extension to that last tip, as soon as the water hits the second to last step, you can get a bucket from anywhere on the second deck. This is really nice as you don't have to run all the way to the back stairs. As soon as you go down the first set of stairs, you can get a bucket. And this is a really good tip to know if you're not the bilge, because in case the bilge can't keep the water level low, you can run down and help. So on Galleon, when you have all 3 sails down and they're in wind, your boat's going really fast, so you kind of have to aim your buckets ahead of where you normally aim. You also have to widen the angle, so instead of standing in the middle of the table, you want to stand on the far right corner. A good reference point I like to aim for is the bottom left corner of your middle sail, and if you aim there, you should be fine. So again, you want your character to stand on the right side of the table. And while at the right corner, you want to aim here. And to make it a little easier, if you stand on the far right face of the table, you can bucket here. So this is probably one of the trickiest things. Even experienced bilges have trouble with this. So just get some holes and put your sails in wind and start practicing. Anyone who's played this game knows that servers aren't the most stable, especially when you're in an intense fight, and the stuttering or teleporting may cause you to backsplash. Also, anytime you're fighting a really experienced crew, they will send a boarder and most likely he'll try to stand over the grate to cause you to backsplash. To avoid this, you can cancel your throw by double tapping your drop stow key. By default this is bound to X, but I changed mine to mouse scroll wheel because it's really easy to scroll down twice. So one responsibility for bilges are to put out the fire, and the quicker you can put out the fire, the quicker you can save yourself and your team from a big headache. So going over some quick ways to put out some common fires, on the back balcony, you don't have to run all the way to the back. You can put the fire out through the window here. And it's possible to put out the front mast from the grate. Since you're already down here bucketing, this is really easy and can save your team a lot of time. And you can also put out the middle mast from the grate as well, and this one's a lot easier because it's right there. Another really easy spot is putting out the fire on the stairs, and it's basically like just regular grate bucketing, except you just want to do it on the opposite side. And your helm will love this one. If your wheel's on fire, you can also put that out from the bottom grate. And the last spots I don't think many people know about is the far corners on the balcony. you can put out, you just gotta hit the top of the railing right here, and it'll put out those corners. Different tiers of holes take on more water, with 3 taking in the most water. Along with that, the different tiers also take different amounts of time to repair, with tier 3s taking the longest to repair. Tier 1s take roughly 2 seconds and 3 slaps. Tier 2s taking roughly 3 seconds with 4 slaps. And finally, tier 3s taking roughly 6 seconds and 6 slaps. When repairing holes, you generally just want to stand as far back as you can. This can potentially save you from being knocked off the repair by another cannonball, and it can also lower the damage you do take if you are hit by a cannonball. And as you can see, you're able to sit pretty far back from the hole while still being able to repair. Paired with this, there are also some safe spots on the bottom deck of a galleon you can repair from. Right here, you can repair all 4 of these back holes. And excluding blunderbombs, I don't think I've ever been knocked off a hole or damaged by a regular cannonball while using this method. Another safe spot is right at the front left. If you wedge yourself right next to this post, you can get this repair, and a lot of times, even if they hit this hole, you'll stay on the repair. And another spot is at the front right behind these barrels. You can get a repair here, and I don't think it'll save you from being knocked off the repair, but it will dampen the damage you do take. Once you get those repairs and your bottom deck is full of water, we can finally get to the sword movement. To get to one end of the ship from the other, the fastest, you want to sprint, jump, sword hop, then sprint, and jump again. And you just want to repeat this until you get to where you're going. And this is very easy to practice, and this method's really good, especially when you're trying to get those front holes repaired, but you need to get to the back stairs to be able to bucket in time. Another great example of sword movement is whenever your bottom deck is full of water but you have multiple holes in a row, you can immediately sword hop from one repair to the next. This is really good to get multiple repairs in a row really quick. A good rule of thumb is anytime you get front lowers, you normally want to prioritize those, especially if your water level is low. So if you can get all your repairs in without bucketing, generally working from front to back is usually ideal. No matter how good you are, there will be a time where you'll have too much water and too many holes, and eventually you'll have to call for help.
I'll need you again.
My advice here is figure out how much pressure you can hold by yourself, and as soon as you get one more hole than that, then you should probably call for help.
Okay, actually, can you just let me help with your water getting down a bit? I definitely went down too late. You just get recover quickly. We have 5 tier 7 minute. Can I get 3 buckets, please? Thank you. That's good.
So one really easy way to practice is go to your nearest fort, grab a couple kegs, light them, and see how much pressure you can hold. The maximum amount of tier 3s one person can hold are 4, so practice and try to work up to that. Another really good way to practice is to hop servers and go to the Reaper table and look for wooden Reaper ships. If you see a wooden ship on the table, that means there's a Reaper on the map and could be a possible fight. Now, not all Reapers are created equal, so even if you do find a Reaper on the table, it's not always 100% they're going to fight. A lot of times they do end up running. So there's one 100% way you can practice that does simulate pressure from a galleon. And in my opinion, this is the best way to practice. It's driving to the Red Sea and just doing Red Sea practice. Now, you can do this with a friend or you can do it solo. It's obviously easier with a friend. And the best way to practice this is if you have the Shores of Gold checkpoint, sail on over to the Red Sea right before the Shores of Gold. If you're with a friend, throw down the voyage, and if you get too much pressure, you can have him vote it down and it'll stop giving you holes.
Yeah, so that's how you bucket a boat.
So other than fighting an actual good crew, this is probably the best way to simulate the same pressure. And what I really like about this is it just gets you used to working together with a teammate. You get used to having that constant pressure, and it really doesn't faze you when you actually get into a real fight. And another way to practice, just like I mentioned in my canon guide, is joining something like the Legacy Brawl Hub or Sea of Vengeance, or really any Discord server that hosts any naval event. And I will link the Legacy Brawl Hub Discord server in the description. So once you start practicing your bilge and you feel good, maybe you can start a team or join another team as a bilge. So that's pretty much it for the video. That's pretty much everything I know about bilging, and hopefully you learned something and can possibly take it away and use it for Season 8. And if there's any other PvP related tutorials you'd like to see, just leave a comment on what it is and I'll consider doing a video on it.